Welcome to the Super Region 4 Playoff Podcast. Like to welcome you in to our little spot on the internet that we call the D2 Football Pod. I'm your Northern Sun podcaster and national contributor, Matt Witwicky, better known to some of you as Wit, or maybe that dope that picked Augie to win at Mines a week ago. And I'm joined by a guy who's a lot smarter than I am. He picked the Orediggers to win in Golden last week. He's former star defensive back from Colorado Mesa, the Mavericks, and our current RMAC columnist, Antonio Clark. AC, how are you, my dude?
I'm doing great, man. You know, another week down. We're marching on. We're getting closer to Texas.
Well, yeah. And you know what? None of my Northern Sun teams are still around. You've got Mines. I'm about to say that's kind of a good one to be riding out here, buddy.
Hey, you know, I hopped on the bandwagon at the right time, and now I'm enjoying this ride on down.
Fair enough. Well, let's go ahead and kind of start on off the show. We had two games that we're going to be end up reviewing here. The first of which is the obviously Augustana and Colorado Mines that we made reference to a moment ago. So let's go ahead and hit the highlights. Augustana going to Golden, cold weather, as you can see right there, about 20, pretty crisp.
Oh yeah.
Matoka and company getting after it right away. Noah Roper scores, and kind of that quiet Mines attack. They've only run for like 1,500 yards and 20 tuds, between their guys. They're really productive, and all of a sudden, strip score 21-0, 21 rip quickly in this one. And all of a sudden I realized my upset pick had probably gone wrong at this point. Augustana scores in the second half, gets a touchdown there. Logan Utek with the score. But Mines wasn't letting up. They kept on rocking here. Matoka, gets flushed out. And then who does he find here? Who's his main dude? What do you think, AC?
Oh yeah, Max McCloud. You know, guy I think is the best receiver in the nation. Bar
you know what? His numbers might support that. I'm not gonna lie. So, but very one-sided win for Mines. They are tremendous at home. Not to say they're not good on the road, but man, getting them at home, good luck. So as we went ahead and we kind of took a look a little bit at that. Augie wasn't really able to establish a rhythm offensively. The Mines defense had a whole lot to do with it. I felt like right away, AC win. Mines scores, marches quickly and scores. Matoka runs one in. Because why not? He can do just about anything, right? Then Augustana kind of jumbles the kick and ends up starting on their own one. And I just kind of chuckled and I was like, this is not how this goes, if you're going to compete. With the Orediggers at home. And so that, then they didn't get much. Another score, Casey Bauman gets sacked 6 times. Augustana couldn't get the run going. What were some of the observations you had? Other than this just being a one-sided blowout, what were some of the other kind of points that you saw as you were at on?
I'm not going to say, I don't know how to say it properly. I don't know if I want to say surprised, but I was impressed with how dominant Mines' defensive front seven was against Augie's offensive line. I did not, I thought Augie would be able to truly compete with those guys, but I think that's where everything started at. All that pressure. Casey Bauman was running for his life for most of the game. And with Mines, you have to play mistake-free football. I think they're the best team in the country at capitalizing on mistakes. Like, you make a mistake, and they make you pay with points.
Yes.
So once you get behind the 8 ball on them too, and then they can really pin their ears back. Like, their front seven's generating a lot of pressure anyways. But when they know you're in a passing situation, it's bad news. And I think that was on display on Saturday.
Well, and it almost felt like anything that could go wrong then started to. A week before that, Mankato had that same thing play out for them against the Vikings in Sioux Falls. Then, Bauman's rolling out, tries to throw a ball away, and it gets picked. And it's
My
like,
boy
okay,
Jackson Zimmerman.
yeah. So it's like when you see that kind of stuff happening, you just know how this day is going. You know,
Yeah.
and I mean, I made reference earlier to the running game of mines because I think sometimes that gets a little understated. But between Roper and Landon Walker, they've got almost 1,500 yards between them, like 23 scores or something. I mean, if you had one running back like that, you'd be like, wow. But they just split them time. Michael Zeman was obviously the guy in years past, kind of a workhorse for him. But they're able to kind of spread it out between those two, and they're really impressive as they do it because it takes pressure off the passing game all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, the balance it provides, it opens everything up. It opens up the downfield stuff, all of it. And I love like Roper and Landon Walker. I think they're both a little bit more dynamic than Michael Zeman, but they're
Sure.
both also two big, strong kids. Like, I don't think people understand how big Noah Roper is, like, in person. Like, he's a solid, stocky guy. He runs behind his pads. He always falls forward. Landon is huge. Landon's legs are like my torso. Like, there's some big kids, and like I said, they're actually elusive though. They both have some sauce to them, as the kids like to say. They both got the sauce. So I think their running game. I think that's what really powers them. Their ability to lean on it. I think they proved that in the Western game, and then once again this week, like, Matoka can beat you through the air, but they can also just bully you up front as well.
Well, then Matoka, oh, by the way, 25 of 31 or whatever it was, 300, three touchdowns.
One of
He makes it look like it's a casual day at the office.
And one of those incompletions was a drop that was probably another touchdown to Flynn Chile.
Right,
Like,
right.
the precision he plays with, the accuracy. I think people downplay how accurate and how good of a passer he is because he's athletic and can move around in the pocket and whatnot. But he's one of the most pinpoint passers in all of college football, regardless of level. And I think he
Oh,
I think he showed it
absolutely.
again this weekend.
Absolutely. I mean, it's honestly, if I'm a Mines fan, I really treasure this time because I mean, let's be honest, these last 3 years, 2021, they represented the Super Region. They went down to Valdosta, lost a pretty well contested game. Last year, they won the Super Region, went to the Natty, came up short there. And right now, I mean, they could very well be on pace to win the Super Region for 3 straight years. I can't remember the last time we were talking about that Super Region 4. So it's pretty impressive, this run that they're on. And their quarterback has a whole heck of a lot to do with it.
I think it goes to show just how they've elevated their program. Like, it wasn't that long ago that they had another Harlan Hill guy. Like, I played a Harlan Hill guy and Justin Dvorak, and that
Right?
team made the playoffs, but that team didn't make these gains and have these deep runs into the playoffs. I think it just speaks to the caliber of program that they've built.
Yeah.
They're a well-oiled machine, and they're really not going anywhere.
No, and they're
But
a lot more complete and ready to play on a national stage against anyone, as they've proven out here over the last few years.
oh
Well,
yeah,
let's go ahead and take a look at our second game, which we had Central Washington going to Bemidji State. Let's go ahead and we're going to throw on some highlights there as well. Bemidji gets after it pretty quickly right from the get. Marched down the field on their first possession. They mixed run and pass real well. They go here right here for a score, and all of a sudden it's 7-0 real fast. And Brandon Alt airing it out a little bit more to start this one off. He hits one down the sideline here for what looks like it may go for a tud, but it doesn't. And they end up sending it up for a field goal. It ended up being kind of big there, AC. And then, later on, you see why he is such a well-regarded passer. He put that one in a perfect spot. They're up 17-rip, and, well, wait a second. Now here comes Central Wash. They get an interception, and then Kennedy McGill, his maturation continues here, the quarterback for the Wildcats.
mm-hmm.
20 rushes, gained 100 yards on his feet. The tush push here brings them within 3 right before half. And then in the second half, as we kind of move forward in this one, Central Washington held Bemidji to about 40 yards in the second half, barely able to move the chains at all. and they were able to be just effective enough in the passing game while still being able to mix up the rush. They were over 200 yards on the ground in this one, which we talked about it a week ago and said if Central Washington can run the football effectively, it changes this football game. They ran for over 200 on the ground. Time of possession, 43 minutes. And in the fourth quarter, a 12-minute drive to end the football game. 19 plays. They start at their own 2. I remember, like, I had the game on, and I'm sitting there watching, and I'm watching some other games at the same time. And I keep looking back, and I'm like, man, Central Washington's had the ball for a long time. And then I look, and it's like 3 minutes left. And then I see they're at like a 3rd and 1 or whatever it was. And I was like, if they get this game's over with. So Brandon Alt never got the ball back, which, I think everybody watching was just kind of like, okay, Alt's going to get a chance at the end here, and we'll see what happens. They did the ultimate. They didn't give him a chance.
I couldn't have been more surprised by the outcome of the game. To see Central Washington to be able to run the ball like that on Bemidji, following Bemidji having that performance they had last week, like,
right.
I didn't see that coming. Like, I thought Bemidji's defense really led. Bemidji's defense won that game down at UTPB last week. And I thought, they're going to continue with that trend for Central Washington to dominate the time of possession like that. Like we did say before this, if they could do that, that would keep them in this game. And then, I got to just give it hats off to their defense to shut down that offense, get 17 put on your head to start the game, and then to not fold. It's hard in those situations to not, succumb to that pressure. Of course, Tanner Volk comes up with another pick. Like, of course he does. It's almost like, I don't even know what to say about that guy. That guy's just amazing. But I couldn't be more shocked by that. And then, I love that you pointed out Kenny McGill continuing to just mature. He wasn't as prolific through the air as he was at Western Colorado, but he didn't need to be this week. He reminds me of it's drawing me back to like the Tim Tebow days. Like, he's just a winner. That's what he's proven to me over these last couple of weeks, whether it's running the ball 15, 20 times as a quarterback or getting the ball through the air. The kid just seems willing and able to do whatever they need to do to win. And I'm happy for him. Who doesn't love a Cinderella story?
Well, we've had kind of some wild outcomes with this grouping of teams, not including Mines, but like UTPB, they beat Central Washington by a big number. Bemidji goes down there, wins at UTPB. Central Washington then beats Bemidji. It makes no sense, right? Because that's not how the math's supposed to work. Western Colorado beats UTPB. Western Colorado loses to Central Wash. So it's like all these results totally seem to conflict each other, and it kind of shows you how much parity there kind of is in this bracket. Now, the only team that's really kind of standing out by themselves right now is Mines. So let's go ahead, and I want to take a little bit of a look here, first of all, at the bracket that we have. And I'm going to go ahead, give me a second here to get this all straight for us here, bud. And here is where we are in the Super Region 4 bracket. As mentioned before, Mines wins 56-10 on that middle column over Augustana to advance. Then we have Central Washington 21-17 over Bemidji right there. So we've got Central Washington versus Colorado Mines. Now, keep in mind, we have Central Washington down there as 9-3. Two of those results, one of them FBS, one of them NAIA. So, I mean, in these two terms, we're probably calling them more of a 9-1 at that point. Mm-hmm. But, as we look right here, I don't know if any of us would have called it like this. Central Washington may have been the biggest upset team in this coming in, and they have found themselves in the regional final.
Absolutely. I think me and you both, when the seedings came out, when the teams were selected, I think we were both a little like, does Central Washington really deserve to be in this field of play? I know at least that's kind of how I felt, but they've proven it on the field. That's the
Oh,
best
absolutely.
part about this. They've gone out, proved us wrong. I think they've been obviously they believe in themselves. I don't think they're going in any of these games thinking that they're like as long as we may think it's David versus Goliath, I don't think they think that at all. And I think it shows in their
No.
play. I think this is good for D2 football. You know what I mean? Things like this are good, bringing attention to teams that haven't been this far, teams doing things that people think they couldn't do. I love this. I absolutely love it all.
Well, and the fact that they've been able to do it on the road, both games, and they've done it with defense, running the football, and trying to not lose the turnover battle. And Bemidji had 3 turnovers in the middle of that football game that put them in some good spots, and they took advantage of those situations. Now, if we were to go ahead from here and kind of take a look at our tail of the tape, the tail of the tape kind of speaks to a little bit of the David and Goliath thing. Now, I know Central Wash folks don't want to hear that, but if we're going to be real honest with ourselves, take a look at the scoring differential and the numbers behind Colorado Mines. And frankly, for anyone watching, Colorado Mines numbers are favorable to any team left in play here of the 8 in the field. So it's not just a Central Washington thing here. Central Washington, as I take a look at this right now, the things that they really have going for them in this mix is they're almost rushing for 200 yards a game. That's a big thing for them. Now, of course, if we take a look on the flip side, Colorado Mines is only allowing 65 yards a game on the ground. I believe that's second or third best nationally of the teams remaining. I think Harding may be number 1 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're averaging about 2.5 yards a carry by the opponent. So something there has got to break. Now, as we take a look a little further into this, the turnover ratio for Colorado Mines is ridiculous. Plus 20, that's the best nationally. They also get after the quarterback. So there's just a whole lot of things that kind of end up stacking up against Central Washington here, other than the fact that they're on the road as well. I got to be honest with you, though, AC, I don't think that is an issue to them being on the road. I think when you play like this, you get a road warrior mentality. To them, it's not even a thing at this point. It's us against the world. It has to be at this point, right?
I'm sure they enjoy, they get to get on a plane every weekend, go to a new place, a new environment. And like you said, that road warrior mentality, there's nothing better than just silencing a crowd. There's nothing better than that feeling when the game's over and those people that have been yelling at you all game are walking with their heads down. I think they've completely embraced their role. But looking at these statistics, the one that's really jumping out to me this week is the sacks by Mines, 41 of them. That's the thing that I worry about. We've seen Kennedy McGill really step his play up in this playoff run that Central Washington's been on, but I don't know that he's seen the constant pressure that he's going to be subject to this Saturday.
Sure. I would agree with your take on that. Now, guys, for all those watching, AC and I will pick the winner of this at the end of the show. We're going to leave you around for a little bit before that. Let's go ahead and take a look at some things that popped up this week, some awards that I want to talk about, because we have some guys in Super Region 4 that are affected by this. So we have the Upshaw Award for the best lineman at our level. And as we take a look right here, if we go to the second down, we have Ty Cobb as we move kind of left to right, and Levi Johnson. Now, one of them, Levi, is obviously with Colorado Mines, and he's an offensive tackle. Offensive linemen don't always win this award because it's kind of hard to have good stats compared to like a D end or something like that because you're up against a bunch of guys in this. But Ty Cobb from Bemidji is also in this as well, an offensive tackle. I wanted to make sure we recognize both of these guys because of the fact that they will both probably end up being All-Americans and, two of the better players at our level on the line of scrimmage. Now, if you were going to go ahead, AC, and you were going to throw a name out as to who do you think wins this award, who are you landing on?
If I had to choose, the guy I do think does win it, and he's very deserving, is probably Christian McCarroll out of Grand Valley.
Yep.
I've seen him. I was there at the Mines game in person. It was actually him and Levi Johnson had a couple nice one-on-one matchups. But he's been dominant up front. If I'm not mistaken, did he not? I believe he led the GLIAC in sacks.
Right.
He has that name recognition playing for a big program like Grand Valley that's still playing right now too. Like, he has an opportunity to impress some people this weekend, get a couple sacks or so. I would probably lean towards him. And I mean, just kind of with that same thought process, Levi possibly could. Honestly, like as you alluded to earlier, Mines has about 1,500 yards rushing between their two running backs, multi-digit touchdowns. It's not like John Matoka's been sacked much. Mines does have that notoriety after playing in a national championship last year. They've had other offensive linemen as of recently that have wanted I'm losing his name. Their center last year won one of these national awards. So
that's right.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Levi. He could pull it home too, but I could see them going with probably Christian McCarroll.
Yes, and now you're going to make me try and think of it was Matt Armendariz.
Matt Armendariz.
There you go.
Matt Armendariz.
Okay,
yeah,
I win today. Just for off top of my head, not even playing. He's not even in the league in our league this year. But anyway, I'm going to go. You know what? My guy Lubert over at Benedict. I've been a fan of his for a few years now, and he's been on our Elite 100 All-American team. I'm going to go ahead and take him. You brought up a very important point, AC, and that's how much notoriety do they get? What program are they with? And Benedict, as an HBCU out in the East Coast, they don't get a lot of love. They don't get a lot of headlines. And my boy Lubert, I watched him. They had a game on ESPN2 during the year, and believe it or not, D2, and he was just wrecking people. So I'm going to go ahead. He's going to be my guy here. But I think you bring up an important point. If you're at Grand Valley, or you're at Mines, or you're at some very high-profile schools, your name's in the news a lot more, and some of this is going to be name recognition. So I don't discount anything you just said there. And for all we know, we could both be wrong. So
yeah, I mean, they're all deserving. I think that's something that you said. All these guys right here are some dominant players, and games are won and lost in the trenches. So these guys, they don't get as much love as they should throughout the season, but these are truly the guys that make all the other stuff go.
Yeah, and to be down to the final 8 nationally means a whole lot. And for those who don't know, I mean, obviously these guys are dominated by their teams and things of that sort, and that's kind of how we got here. And the same holds true for the Harlon Hill Award. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look a little there at the Harlon Hill. We've got our list right from our site here, and I want to focus on Super Region 4 as you and I kind of look at this and speak to it. We've got Brandon Alt, who we just talked about from Bemidji State. He's back for his 14th season. No, I'm just kidding. He's had knee injuries. He's been around for a while. Then we've got Sheen Butler Lawson from Minnesota State Mankato. We got Chance Fuller, gunslinger from Pueblo. Kenny Hernser, that we had talked about previously a few weeks ago on the pod here. Great quarterback from Permian. Matoka, I mean, obviously kind of the obvious guy here. Ben Noland, who transferred from Northern State in Aberdeen, South Dakota to Mines and had a monster season. Matter of fact, I think at the end of the regular season, he may have had as good a stats as your guy, Max McLeod. They were really
neck
close.
And neck all year.
Yeah. Clay Scheffner, Winona State, he was on this list a year ago. So he and Brandon Alt both are reappearing on this list along with Matoka. So we have 3 of them that are repeats. Jack Strand, quarterback from Minnesota State Moorhead, about 6'5". Yeah, and he can sling it, and they throw it a lot. And he did tremendous for them this year. They were a winning ball club with him at the helm. Tanner Volk, who may very well be as good as any defender on this list in any of the super regions.
Most likely the Cliff Harris winner.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't see how they don't go with him.
Well, he's got all the picks, and then, oh, by the way, he's got like 110 tackles. I mean,
yeah.
It's like backer numbers. And then Kyle Waljasper, the thick grizzly quarterback from Duluth who runs over everybody. So we've got a pretty good representation and list right here from SR4. The guy that we think is going to be the biggest challenge for Matoka, because obviously he's got the award right now, is going to be the guy directly above SR4, Zach Zabrowski from Central Missouri. Now, have you had a chance to see or follow any of Mr. Zabrowski this year, or is he new to you?
Oh, no, I'm very familiar.
Now, Matoka's had a great year. Matoka has thrown for 39 scores, has 5 picks, probably has over 200 less attempts than Zabrowski, who has thrown 61 tuds and 5 picks. Matoka is number 1 in pass efficiency. Zabrowski's 2. Zabrowski's thrown for 5,100 yards, and Matoka's like 3,500 or whatever it is. So there's a pretty big gap. Obviously, a lot of it's just because Zabrowski's offense is so pass heavy. But at the same time, he has produced with all the increased volume like he has in his numbers. He's 1,000 yards ahead of every other passer on the list. Yeah. So that says his numbers are out of this stratosphere. I think the big thing that we're going to see here, because I really think it'll come down to those 2. And if it does, I'll be interested to see does the name recognition and also fantastic season by Matoka. He just isn't playing he's not throwing as much or playing in deepest games a lot of times.
He doesn't need to.
Of course. Does that win the day, or are Zabrowski's numbers just too out of sight for him not to win it? What are your thoughts right now?
I think Zabrowski's numbers make it really tough for him not to win it, but right. I think the fact that John's won it already, and the fact that the team success, like as a quarterback, is that not the most important stat? The wins. Not to say Zabrowski's not a winner himself. He took Central Missouri to the playoffs. They had a hell of a season. They're not undefeated. They didn't beat a Grand Valley this season. They didn't beat an Angelo to start their season off. Like team success has to account for something. And Mines being as dominant with that guy being their leader, I think that is where it becomes a real tight race. And I think what gives Matoka the edge is sadly Central Missouri had that field goal block this weekend, so they're not going to keep playing. Whereas Matoka has this regional final coming up. If he wins, he's going to have another primetime showcase game. So if I'm not mistaken, they announced it like the day before the national championship. That's how they did it last year. With the timing of it and Matoka getting these extra few games while Zabrowski isn't playing anymore, I think that's what's going to be the difference. But it is neck and neck. Like Zabrowski is insane. I've been watching him all season, but I really got to sit and watch him in this game. At one point, Central Missouri was down about 14 in the fourth quarter. And against a team like Harding where they can control the ball, I kind of thought it was over. So, I'm jumping around, checking other games. I checked back right as it comes down to the end. I'm like, what? He went and scored twice on this defense? So I think Zabrowski is amazing. I mentioned I referenced Justin Dvorak, the quarterback from Mines that won the Harlon Hill a few back in my day. He really reminds me of him their ability to elude pressure, but not to actually run, just to elude pressure, just to find receivers down the field.
Right.
He's amazing. So like, if they were to give it to Zabrowski, I'm not going to cry foul play. You know, he's very deserving. But if it were up to me, I would go with Matoka just based on that team success and what he's been able to do in the biggest of moments.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some folks saying Matoka's kind of not having as good a year as he did a year ago. Well, last year his total offense per game was 326. He's at 320 right now. Okay, we're pretty much the same. And the tuds are still there and everything else, and he's leading in efficiency. So I fully agree with you that I think if it comes down to I think if people, the sports information directors, when they vote on this, if the name recognition of Matoka feels like it's a slam dunk that he gets it. If they really look into the numbers, it's hard to turn away the eye-popping stuff that Zabrowski has. But I think it's going to be an interesting race. I mentioned a month ago on our show on Sunday nights that I was going to die on the hill of Matoka. I was his guy. And my guy Chuck was saying Zabrowski, and we were joking around about it. But I'm still staying with Matoka, and we'll see if I die on that hill or if I don't.
So, you're not dying there alone. Just know that I'm right there with you.
Well, so as you and I kind of get down to it here, and we talk a little bit about this one game that we have left. Give me your thoughts. Who are you going with, and why?
I'm gonna go with the Ore Diggers. I think mine is simply put the best team in the nation. I think they're the best team standing, not just in Super Region 4, but across all of D2. Just how balanced they are, the way they can attack you through the air, different ways they can attack you through the air. If they don't want to go deep and take them over the top like they were doing this week, because Volk's back there, we've seen them kill guys just on the perimeter, just short dink and dunks, letting their athletes get out in space. I think their defense is they're on a tear right now. It seems like every quarterback that runs into them has their worst game of the season. So I'm going to go with Mines. I love what Central Washington's been able to do. I've become a big fan of them over this playoff run. They're a gritty bunch of guys, and I think they're going to go in. I don't think they're going to be scared, or I don't think the lights will be too bright, but I just think Mines is on a different level, and it is a more talented team. So I'm going to go with Mines to win comfortably. Yeah.
Okay. I'll be interested to see if Tyler Flanagan plays. We haven't mentioned him on the pod this week. Did not play from what I saw the other day. Still think he's a tremendous running back for Central Wash. If he can somehow be healthy or good enough to go, I think that helps give them a boost. This is a team that they have a higher possession time per game than Mines does. Something we didn't show in the stat. Sometimes that can be a little bit overrated, to be honest, that stat. However, with the style of play that they have, I think it's relevant and important. They need to somehow find a way to turn over Mr. Matoka. I think that's where it gets real difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder if Patrick Rogers, their Elite 100 corner, number 0,
follows McLeod.
I was wondering if he travels with McLeod at all, because McLeod lines up in the slot a lot. And it's kind of the way they use him and move him around would make it hard to have that type of responsibility. But Volk and company, I think the most important thing, and I said this about Augie a week ago, they need to survive the first quarter. Augie did not. If they can survive the first quarter and start to get their game going and start playing field position, start running the football and everything else, I see a path for them to be able to compete. However, I just don't see how you are able to sustain drives against this Mines defense. I think you'd have to hit a few explosives. So all that said, we saw the tail of the tape. What do they do poorly? Nothing. They do everything good. So like you, there's no way I'm not going to take Mines in this contest, especially coming off of how well they played in that first playoff game as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're at, folks. AC and I, our picks are in. We'll go ahead and see you guys down the road here as the season continues. We only have 8 teams left. We'll be down to the final 4. This is the last of our super regional shows because of the fact that these are the super regional finals. AC, I want to extend a great thanks for you to come on with us and help us in this maiden voyage with these super region programs. I hope you'll be up to being on with us again. Okay, buddy?
Hey, man, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Sounds good, buddy. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And there we have it.